takes its time setting the stage and getting you invested in its characters, and then they all start...
It literally did the opposite.
Yeah.
It gave us all the payoffs before the investment. It's designed specifically to do that. Even the developers wanted it that way. So what you just said is just wrong.
It's so
sorry.
lazy. The example I think about to refute that statement is the Dina relationship. You're just supposed to accept that they're already in love, and that's it. It's so dumb.
The best I could give him is interested to see where these people will go.
But like, the whole idea is, can we make you understand an event that is f***ing horrific after the fact? But like, they bungled it hardcore. And so what I'm suggesting is like, they get you invested first and then they do the thing. And I'm just like, I mean, you could argue that in like a small sense with showing us Joel and Ellie chilling out at first before all that shit happens. But in terms of Abby, the entire goal is to invest you in her after the payoff. Because that's an interesting challenge as a writer. It's an interesting challenge. It's just they did...
They want to recontextualize her actions.
I'm going to say that later.
Give you a new perspective on what she did.
Well, like, the big problem is that what she does is hideous. Like, it's sadistic. So it's really... Like, if you're going to go with that level, it's really hard to bring that back. And all they do...
If she'd shot him once. Just shot him once, executed him, let's go.
Yeah, I think it's done, it's over.
As far as I'm concerned, that would be in character from what I've learned about Abby. It would be her pushed to a very limit, she will execute a person. It's like, damn, execute. But it's like, how do you justify a person who does what she does in that scene? It's like, well, I don't think...
Just talk to him.
I don't even know that we can create an endearing character that did what she did in the opening. Like, I think you have to make them disturbed. You have to, and the best you can do is just understand how they got there. But they didn't do that. They created someone else, and they were like, please like her. And you're like, well...
Which is weird, because it's such a natural fit to the revenge story thing.
Yeah.
They decided not to go with it.
Well,
and they didn't,
we said
there was no repercussions from it. It wasn't as if we went to that Abby and she was kind of like, maybe this is how Abby normally is. And then we never saw any sort of thoughts or questioning herself as regards to what she did, what happened with Joel. Nothing.
No.
Well, the best you get is that she says she feels guilt, and she's very non-specific about this guilt. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with Joel. It could be about scar treatment. It could be about the wrongs that the WLF have done. But I think the game was trying to get at you that she doesn't feel 100% great about what she did to Joel, and it's like, wow, why don't you explore that? Explore that.
Give me time with that.
Yeah, they've never explored anything with any character.
Well, if you remember, the closest we got was Owen almost called her out, and same with Mel, by the way. They consider what she did in the ski lodge to be fucking messed up. And he's like, what would I do? Go find the guy who killed my parents and beat the shit out of him with a golf club? And then they have sex. It's like, oh, well, okay. Like, seems like we were going somewhere with that, but never mind.
Yeah.
That's another thing that bothers me about this whole forgiving Abby shit. It doesn't feel like she earns the redemption because she's not sorry.
No.
Well, and
that's another thing that bothers...
That she's doing to Joel what Joel technically tried to, like, so she's killing Joel because he killed her dad. Joel killed her dad because the dad threatened to kill Ellie. Like, I don't understand how you can, once you know that, Abby, it's like, isn't this a little difficult to call justice? Because you're doing the exact same thing, really.
Yeah, they were going to kill a 14-year-old girl on the hope that they could culture a vaccine, which the Fireflies were 100% in charge of. So do you think they're just going to start skipping around planet Earth going, here's some vaccine for you, and here's some vaccine for you?
It's worth mentioning, Joel canonically didn't torture the doctor. Some people bring it up in chat. It's like, so...
Shut up. He just shot her once.
Joel should have known ahead of time what would happen, so he needs to torture that doctor to make sure he gets the motivation right for Abby. He's like, I better torture this person, otherwise Last of Us 2 won't make sense. gotta do it.
Yeah.
What is Donkey saying again?
If they were operating off the function of an eye for an eye, then when Joel saved Abby's life, then Abby would have had a conflict of interest because technically she owes Joel.
That's the thing, man. That's the perfect setup for actual, like, a meaningful conflict in your head.
There's so much drama you can get out of that.
I know, but did he? No. But I tell you what, he got a teenager and a couple of gay girls in it, so that's all right then. Well, that's everything he wanted.
Can I tell you an example of this? So I was thinking of a scene, and then my brain was like, "Wait, you've seen this scene?" And I was like, "Oh my god, it's in that film." So, but it's such a different context, but it's still very applicable. So, I see, like you know, Abby, Joel, and Tommy are moving through buildings and something, and there's a part where Joel is like fallen on something, and he's grabbing onto a ledge, and she's the only one there that can pick him back up, or she could kick him off it. And you know, she sits there for a little bit, staring at him, and he's like, "Help! You know, what's going on?" Or he doesn't realize he's looking around, and he's just trying to make sure he's okay. And then she grabs him, pulls him up, and the camera's just sitting on her face, where she's like almost blank. Because it's just like it's something she had to do, but is that the thing she wanted to do? I don't know. Fucking Lord of the Rings does it with Gollum when he sees the ring coming off Frodo's chain, and Frodo's struggling.
That's right. When they're climbing up at Minas Morgul,
and he could push him. He could push him and take it, but he doesn't. And again, different context, but these are the kinds of payoffs we could have had. We're constantly stressed out that this girl wants to kill Joel, but she can't quite justify it. She's having trouble.
She got it, and then she spends time with that decision.
Yeah, she doesn't have any problem. Like that. I keep saying it. It's like the perspective is not interesting. That's the problem with Abby. It's like she's not an interesting character.
No.
She got her revenge, she felt bad, and now she's trying to make up for it in some unrelated plot. It's so...
you think they'd work overtime to try and make her
She got her revenge. She said she felt bad in the throwaway line, never to be mentioned again.
Yeah.
Well, like, imagine the third quarter of the game, because Joel's still... Again, I say this like it's just impossible to do, but fuck it, we're throwing out everything that Last of Us 2 actually is. And, you know, Ellie could be on her own adventure. It doesn't really matter. I'm just focusing on different ideas for payoffs, and... You know, like, they get through loads of stuff, Joel and Abby, and then eventually they're in a room relatively safe, and she just breaks down. She's just just crying her eyes out, and she tells him everything. All the context that he's unaware of. And, I wonder how that information would sit with him. You know, because she's not saying, I'm gonna kill you. She's just sitting there crying, because she doesn't know how to deal with this, and he's just like, fuck. And especially if they've become, you know, relative allies, if not friends.
Yeah.
Interesting position to put Joel in as well, because I imagine he'd be on the side of the fence of I'd do it.
And then he'd be on that side. Go in the route of your standard sort of affair instead of a subversive one. You could then have your scene where someone has to stay behind to do something to let other people escape, and he like is absolutely the one, and you know, he sees it as a sort of like recompense. And you could have it that Abby doesn't want him to do it, but that's the arc, if you will. Even though I think that's a little bit.
You could have even have had a, in that sense, you could have had this relationship with them built up. You could have had the admittance of it all, of what had happened, what Joel's responsible for. You could have even had Abby broken down, crying with the gun in her hand. And then you could have even done the gunshot. You could have done the gunshot with Black. I mean, it would have worked in that phase. And then you would have gone, did she kill him? Did she just shoot? Did she not kill him? And then you have Abby leave. And the camera sort of, the music sort of comes, and then the camera just slowly sort of follows the pathway into the house and down the stairs and into the room. And then he could have had Joel dead on the floor.
And like I said, my idea sounds like in that scenario there, and yours, there's all problems that can come with them. And there's lots of ideas being like, oh, that's of course the story you go with. It's so generic Hollywood or something like that. They'd be like, yeah, but I don't know. How about we have one of them instead this time? We keep getting subversive stories that land like a fucking ton of bricks. I just don't think that... I don't think we should throw out the whole, like, hey, how about a normal standard issue story that just teaches a lesson about the complexity of humanity? How about that?
I'm a bit lighter in this aspect than you guys, I think, because like one thing I want to be clear about from my perspective is I don't think the setup they have is unworkable, and I would be very interested to see it made work. I think that could make like a really good story, but
there's all kinds of different...
incredibly ham-handedly is the problem.
Yeah,
I mean we've been going through that, I think, along this stream as well, trying to chip away at all different kinds of fixes. One of the first things we said was like, execute Joel instead of torturing him, because it makes it really hard for us to understand you as a character when you seem to be more interested in causing pain than getting justice or revenge.
That's the funny thing. They make Abby consistent. Remember when she was going to kill Dina, and she found out she was pregnant? You know what she says? Good.
Maybe
People keep saying that. Oh, that's because Ellie killed what's her name again?
Mel.
Yeah, but she didn't give a fuck about Mel. She cried about Owen. Shut the fuck about that Mel shit.
With regards to her killing Joel, I don't know if this is just me being like, it's probably mostly the fact that I'm just very uncomfortable with definitive statements about what you can and cannot do in media anyway, is like, I think you can have her torture him, but like every decision you make early on about how she handles that scene is going to inform how you tell your story later. And that's the big part that's fumbled.
My contention was, if we keep all the Abby flashbacks and gameplay the same, we can't have her torturing him. If you want to keep the torturing the same, we're going to have to change her as a character.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
If she does the torturing like she does, then the story of revenge has got to be Ellie systematically goes through her friends and kills them in increasingly horrific ways.
I quite like the one where she watches someone cough their lungs out because of the spores while she stands over them immune. That shit's cool as an idea.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very very much so. But it's got to be that, you know, it's the sum of its parts, and it can't just be a singular cog. And if the revenge story was told through that lens, then you've got to get rid of this daft notion of trying to get you onto Abby's side, because ultimately, at the end of the game, you need this big, cocky, butch woman that smashed Joel's head in with a golf club to be broken down and beaten psychologically by this wispy girl who has gone through and annihilated her friends because of it.
It feels like a very, like, mistaken ambition, because I don't need to be on Abby's side to understand what she like. I don't need to back Abby morally 100% to like understand or perhaps sympathize or get something compelling out of what she does. I'd apply the same kind of logic to Joel. Like, Joel isn't a character or 100% morally behind at all times necessarily. He's done horrible things. We know that. So, like,
yeah, that's what I say. It's like, it's not that deep. It's not that deep, guys.
Oh god, it's shallow.
Stop saying that it is. It's like, it's not really complicated. Oh, she has another perspective. Oh, so does everyone else in reality. It's like, that's not really.
Well,
come on.
The extreme that we came up with before I think the stream started was you watch Hitler do all of his worst things, and then you have a flashback to Hitler when he was 10. He's Mr. Rogers, and it's just that for 10 hours, and you're like, okay. This isn't doing anything for me. I'm just like,
this isn't telling me anything about the things that are actually gonna like give me anything to go with on this character.
They had Hitler gassing the Jews at the beginning, and then halfway through the game they had Hitler drawing some painting some pictures of his dogs,
playing fetch with his dog in an unskippable on the rails fucking scenario. Oh, that bit is so bad. It's like, play fetch with the dog, okay? And you will like it.
Oh, I have a question about that. People say that scene is skippable. Is that true?
I couldn't skip it. I tried to get out of the room. It wouldn't let me until I played fetch.
Oh my god. Yeah, the camera is like, the camera tilted to the dog, right?
That's
another thing that...
There's two doors
that's suggested.
that lead to the rest of the game, and they don't become openable until you finish the fetching.
Oh, me.
Because that's how story works in those games. It's just why make it interactable if it means nothing to interact?
Yeah, that's another thing. The game is afraid of being a game.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah,
they have to rely on you doing
It's afraid of giving you choice. It's absolutely afraid of giving you choice.
Yeah.
If you don't choose the right things, they don't think the narrative will work. So you have to do those things. At which point, why is this a game?
Make a movie.
But the narrative didn't work.
Halfway through the game, everything resets. The clock turns back 3 days, and now you...
Can we pause here? I just want to say that kills the pacing. That really killed the pacing of the game for me.
It's the second time it killed the pacing, because when I saw everything, Joel dying, people screaming, and then going through his house, having to deal with everything that just happened, and then it's like, now it's time to begin the adventure across Seattle. I'm like, I'm not. This is
yeah.
I mean, is that what we're doing now? I
guess? Then we work through 10 hours of bullshit to finally get to the big payoff in the theater with our characters, and then it cuts it right in the middle of the drama and goes, time for another brand new adventure. When I found out all my resources had been reset, I was like, oh no.
Oh, wait.
No.
Gamers love it.
Can I also say that that is when I played through Abby, that is the moment they were really trying to make her Joel, when her weapons are an analog to what Joel uses in the game.
Ellie's weapons are shit. Ellie chooses not to pick up weapons that are better than the ones she's holding. But Abby...
Yeah, like,
oof.
Abby gets the hunting pistol, which is El Diablo. Abby gets the flamethrower. Abby gets the rifle at the end of Joel's campaign as the default weapon.
I love how they give her a crossbow too. Just like, she's got to have arrows too, okay? Like, all right.
Okay. Oh, it's different because it's a crossbow. And she punches people to death. Oh no. And she also has the shivs. You know, Joel's thing. It's like so blatant.
Friends' lives in constant danger, and yet she keeps taking it further. Then, halfway through the game, everything resets. The clock...
I like that he says she keeps taking it further when at the climax she takes it back to 0. That's like,
she actually retreats, right? Like, they decide to retreat.
If you would say, like, she's pushing it, the only time she really pushes it was when she chooses to go after Abby instead of Tommy. That's like the only instance I can think of where it's like, oh wow, she's losing sight of the real important things. But then, you know, soon after, she's like, no, let's go home.
Yeah, let's go home now.
It's not consistent.
So it sounds good.
You're okay with going home when she lives, yeah?
This is what I mean. What Donkey said sounds good, but it doesn't really represent what happens in the game.
Turns back 3 days, and now you play as the villain, Abby, who is a hardened killer that starts to reconnect with her lost humanity thanks to the innocence of her child companion. Sound like anybody you know? It's obvious.
Yeah, well,
no. No.
It's so funny that that's all it takes. The theme of this stream has clearly been commenting on how shallow the game is, and when you have people reviewing it this way, it's like, you're like Joel, but you're Abby. It's so good. You're like, oh. Can we talk about like what's so meaningful about each of these characters and why? It's like, no.
No, yeah, you know how the one character of Ellie that was always wisecracky and funny and amusing and trying to break down Joel's defenses throughout the whole of the first game is now a robot that says "Cool." You like him, yeah? No.
No.
I think we all understand that the key to making any dynamic, well, any arc and interaction like that is their dynamic with the characters around them. And for that, you need much better dialogue writers than you have on hand, apparently.
Well, yeah, because everything is cliche as hell in Abby's opening scenes. It's all handcrafted to be like, hey, show him stuff that'll make him like her, okay? What's in our list? It's like, she likes animals, she's nice to friends, she looks after people. Have I walked past people who are like, hey, Abby, you're awesome.
It's like, so hand-handedly manipulative.
Have her walk past a gym that says, look, she's walked past a gym, that's why she's massive, like a roided up, steroid abusing Portuguese shot putter.
Can I also say that if they do have a gym, how come Abby is the only one who's jacked?
Exactly.
That's another thing that bothers me.
Where's the steroids?
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing.
And why isn't she eating 7 meals a day of high protein? Why isn't she sleeping 10 hours a day to maintain? Why doesn't she do any lifting whatsoever in the whole fucking thing? You know,
I mean, do you want a gritty, realistic world, or just want to look like that, and you don't want to commit?
But it was just so dumb the way they did her anyway. Like I said, because in all the flashbacks, she's just a regular girl. So why did they feel the necessity on between the last flashback and this to suddenly turn her into a roided up Mr. Universe?
They actually feebly set it up, right? Like in the aquarium, I think Abby goes, "Oh, I benched 185," and Owen doesn't believe her and something like that.
Well, the argument I've heard is that, you know, she saw her dad die and she vows to, you know, become a super strongman to be able to, you know, fight bad people from now on. And it's like, okay, why didn't we see that, like, story?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing. I don't see Abby becoming... I didn't see Abby deciding to be evil. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we've never seen her drive. There's no drive with this character.
No, we just see her dad die, and I don't see the point where I'll be evil just
that's what I meant about
to
the
find
whole,
my dad.
The strangeness of like. So when they gave me Abby and I saw all of this, I got it. I was like, oh, I see what you're doing. So first of all, you're going to establish she's a good person, right? And these are all good people. Sure, I get it. Then you cycle outside of the base, and you're attacked by the warring faction, and you end up in some warehouse, and you have to fight zombies. And I remember being like, what are we doing? Like, why? Guys, you need to use your time a bit better. You need to endear me to her instead of just like, why are we wasting our time on this? Like, I don't care.
You have your work cut out for you endearing the player to a character who's killed probably one of that player's favorite characters, if not their favorite in the game.
Well, yeah, there's an argument I've heard floating around where it's like people didn't love Joel that much. And I was like, you nuts. Like, Joel's beloved as from what I remember.
But like, you've really got to get on that, and you need to not be so ham-handed about it.
Did any of you see the Korean streamer that cut this disc immediately after he saw the Joel die?
Killed, like,
well,
I'm done.
I don't agree with the perspective fully. Like I can see that's what that does to a lot of people's investment. Just that happens so brutally and contrivedly, and you're just like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to play anymore.
It's a hard ask. It's a very hard ask.
Really, it's like, why go on? What's
No, I mean,
what's gonna
somebody in chat asked, Joel shouldn't have died. I think you could do a brutal Joel death properly.
I would have killed him.
I'm going to take the opposite position and say Joel absolutely should die.
I would have killed him if it was my Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would have. I don't think
it wouldn't
have or shouldn't have either way.
Yeah, you can have a story work with him being alive or dead. That's not really the important part.
Absolutely.
The problem is the way they did it. They ignored everything that made Joel a good character. They ignored everything that made Tommy interesting, and they just killed him off so badly.
Sequels are just always shit. They rely on the good love and happiness that you have with these old characters, so they can just shit on him, to use them as nothing more than ammunition.
Apparently, the streamer you were talking about, apparently his dad had died recently, and apparently Joel reminded him of.
Oh, see, good job.
Well, I mean, that's not something we can hold the developers responsible for, but that's very unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah,
just sucks.
Also, people were saying that, like, several people said, so I'm assuming this is true, but I don't know. But Cosmonaut is the one who said people don't like Joel, or Joel's not beloved. Because I already saw it in the Discord. That's what someone said that, like, there's an argument that
that's a load of absolute bollocks.
Well, yeah, like, that's just not true. I don't know what else to say.
Joel's pretty beloved.
I would argue he's one of the most beloved characters on the PlayStation, like the IPs of the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Especially given how massively influential The Last of Us was.
Well, we'll be covering Cosmonaut another time, but that'll be
your protagonist from the last game just gets horrifically murdered in the first 2 hours, and then barely used again.
Well, that was
even in flashback.
So this is the argument that I think they think that we're because we're talking about all the mechanics that led to it and how broken it is, but they think what we're talking about is the mere act of him dying so early.
No, it's how.
Well, that's the thing. If we let's say all the mechanics made complete sense in the boardroom, I would, like I've said this on stream before, but it's like I would caution the developers or the writers. I'd be like, you might not want to kill him that early. It's gonna upset people because they really like him. That's all. And if they were like, yeah, I don't care, I'd be like, all right, that's you could definitely go that way. But then of course my next argument would be, hey guys, I checked out the marketing. What the fuck? you might want to not lie to people. Just put it out there.
Yeah.
It comes across as
manipulate and lie in the
We're gonna take the things that you liked and you love and you're connected with, and we're gonna just use that. It's just a resource for us to use.
Yeah, the trailers make it look like Joel is coming along Ellie's revenge trip. That's the thing that bothered me when you look back.
Yeah,
Ellie's got something to do and Joel's with her to do it.
And
they very purposely set it up to look like Dina was the one that was killed.
And then of course
he was going up, with Joel on a revenge mission for Dina's death.
And of course, with how the game begins, Joel and Ellie are clearly there's something between them that's bad blood. And of course, you can use the lie, quote unquote, as part of the drama that's going to be dealt with over the journey of the game of them getting revenge for Dina. And you can already, it's like, whoa, we got lots to work with. Lots to work with.
But no, that's not what we got.
Well, that's the thing. None of these are what we got. We got this thing, and if you like, again, it can work, but this thing does not work. That's the problem.
Are going to try and humanize and develop all these characters now, looking from the other side, and at first you reject them. You go, F these guys. I don't care about
them. At first, and at second, and at third.
Fourth, for the rest of the game.
It's only until they are killed that you feel happy. Like, yeah,
you feel good. You're glad when they die. You celebrate when they're dead.
After what they did, like, I hate to put it like this, but you pretty much have to trick your players into liking them.
Yeah, it's tough.
And it didn't even work.
I mean, the zebra, if anything else, is the most... It's hilarious when you see stuff like that, because you know exactly what they're doing.
You can't be that on the nose about it, because we're going to see it coming a mile away, and we're going to be offended.
I mean, I don't know. It's childish, and I just don't understand... I don't know how it, like... I don't want to insult people by calling them...
Abby. As the world's greatest dad in the world, Abby... Come here, we need to save this zebra.
I always felt that Terminator 2 was the seminal piece of media to teach writers this lesson. It's not actually about, like, oh, they like zebras. Why was everyone crying when the stupid robot died? It's like, because it's a lot more complicated than just, oh, they're a nice person, though. But they're a nice person. Yeah. It's like, it's not about that. Look at all the interactions. Look at what they do for a person, and how does someone get endeared to you? I feel like Joel should have been the easy archetype for them to understand this from. Like, people who condemn other people for liking him or think he's a good person. Like, we're probably gonna have words about that when we cover the Cosmonaut one. Apparently, I imagine. Whether or not someone's a good person is not what defines how much you'll enjoy them or like them. That's just this. Like, this is some writing 101 shit. A lot of my favorite characters are not good people in fiction.
No.
I don't know why this...
You don't have to morally align with a character to, like, be committed to what they're doing in some way. Or immersed in their actions and understanding of them and compelled by them.
That's what I was getting with
Warhammer
T2.
Is the ultimate example of that. Like, everyone in that thing is a horrible, terrible person, and people love it. And they're rooting for characters, and they're totally diving in.
That's what I meant with T2. He's not human. He doesn't have... He can't share his moral system. He doesn't have one. And so, what do you think that tells you? Like, as a writer?
Joel with golf, except for the dog, I like him. But as you keep playing, eventually you...
I know that was a tiny comment, right? But seriously, that's entirely what it's there to do.
Yeah.
I don't... Yeah, you hear people talk about the game like this, and you're like, how simple is your mind?
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like, oh, I'm enlightened by my own intelligence, kind of tight. But you hear people talk about stuff like this, I'm like, man, your standards are just subterranean.
Well, I don't want to reference this too hard because I want everyone to go see it. A film called The Hunt, but from 2013. Okay. Now, there's a dog. I'm going to try and remain as spoiler-free as possible in here. There's a dog that is simply a dog that is in the house, and it's a part of a guy's life because the guy has a pet, which is pretty fucking common. And let's just say, story relevant to the dog isn't exactly overt or on the nose for a long time. Simply that he has a dog. Do you like dogs? Cool, because there's a dog. It's just a dog. That scene is like, this is the scene in which you will like the dog. Good. We have completed the scene in which you will like the dog. Next scene is the scene in which you will like this particular character. This is the scene in which Manny will share that he likes his father. You will now like Manny. You're sitting there like, what the f***?
Yeah. It's so f***ing basic and contrived. It's ridiculous.
But, I mean, this is why companies do it. Because, I mean, I don't care if people hate me for it, because people like Dunkey are just going to be all on board with its incredibly simplistic, just paint-by-number style of presentation. Like, people eat it up.
I'm not trying to assume too much about him. It's just he's like, I like the dog. And I'm like, damn, that's exactly what they want. Like, you just go like, yeah, I like the dog part with the dog, because it's specifically designed to make you f***ing say that.
Because that's exactly the problem here. We're already predisposed against this character very heavily, right? So the split second we're made aware, they want me to like them, and they're being quite clear about that effect. We're just going to recoil even harder against the character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it feels
so
this game is extremely artificial.
Yes.
Well,
none of this is natural.
We're steps away from the characters all walking through, and then someone goes, "Hey, Abby," and she goes, "What? Do you remember that time where you rescued orphans from a building that was on fire?" I do remember that. And this is why I related it to our talk about the Dawn. I was like, that was for memes. We did that for memes, not to make an actual hard-hitting dramatic story.
And the funny thing about the Abby flashback, the first fucking day, I even hate her more. Because Mel talks about how uncomfortable she was killing kids, and Abby's like, fuck them kids. It's like... it's so... What is this game trying to do? I don't understand. It's like...
I thought it's probably worth bringing up as well, because I was just thinking about the time when Manny, Mel, and Abby are all talking to each other. I'm assuming you guys remember this part, but they do the theme, but it's really hammering it into your cerebral cortex. Yeah. They're going right for it. So they're like, X killed Y. Yeah, but Y killed Z. Yeah, but Z killed A. Yeah, but B killed Z. Yeah, but... And it's like, game, I get it.
The cycle of violence.
It's so fucking bad. Stop, game. Just
fucking Naruto did a better show. Game, come on. Try harder.
Find yourself getting wrapped up in their drama.
It's a funny statement really that Naruto did it better. I think that's funny. Because it's true.
She is seeking revenge against this character, Abby, who brutally murdered her sort of adopted father, Joel. As Ellie, you track Abby to Seattle, where she's part of a militant group called the Wolves. And for 3 days, you go on a warpath through the city in an attempt to find her. It's set up exactly like a traditional revenge story, with Ellie hunting down everyone responsible for Joel's death, while growing increasingly obsessive, erratic, and bloodthirsty. But then
I don't think that's true.
No,
again, it's not
erratic and bloodthirsty.
But you can't really. If we call it from A to B to C to D, it's like super angry. B is like, yeah, pretty angry. C is like, yeah, most angry now, and then D is, let's go back. So it's like I don't think we can call that like a rising blood vengeance fury. I'd be like, I
need to know what he's referencing. That's a problem I always have with these people. Why don't they reference things?
Well, it's the same thing Donkey said, isn't it?
Yeah. I'd like you to tell me exactly where this comes from, because I can't see it.
I assume that, like, we can guess where they got it from, which was that it kind of feels that way. Things are getting more stripped away as time goes on, but it's like, it doesn't actually. If you think about the events, they don't quite actually go that way.
Yeah, it doesn't.
To put it cynically, or, I feel like they're tricked by the high concept of the game.
I mean, when you write the script, I think that feels like the thing to say.
It's a revenge story, and that's how revenge stories go, so that's how this one is going, when the facts of the matter don't really support that.
No, the funny thing is, if they played through the game...
That's a lot of assumptions on my part, but
if you play through the game, you'd notice that Ellie actually hangs back. And like what Mahler said, the time that she goes like, oh, maybe vengeance is wrong, is when she chose Abby over Tommy. That's the only time I went, oh, no.
The only one I can think of. We get a few lines every now and then in conversations of her being, I guess, like, vaguely disturbed in that regard.
Yeah, they obviously the scene where is the spores and everything's covered in red. They're obviously like, look how bad she's become, guys. But then you get to
really though.
Well, you get to the aftermath where she's like, kind of freaking out about what she's done, and she's got loads of wounds and stuff. And then you move on to, let's go home. Okay, let's do it. Let's go home. And then Abby trundles in, and you're like, oh. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird way to look at it. I don't think that's what actually is in the thing, but people keep saying it is.
Yeah, I think it's, cynically speaking, being tricked by the high concept. It looks like a revenge story, so it's probably going to play out like a revenge story, right? And that's how they usually go.
Yeah, they usually just keep cranking up every time.
Yeah.
But you look at Ellie in the opening, where she's like, I'm gonna f***ing kill you! I'd be like, that's probably pretty high on the scale, actually.
Yeah. And then she's bantering around with Dina.
Hideout and has the upper hand when the game smash cuts to black, rewinds the clock,
off its pacing.
The game off its pacing.
Oh, what? Something interesting? Well, we can't have any of that. Look, zebra.
If people were curious about like why this is such a problem, it's like you're both watching, Avengers Endgame, and the three, Thor, Iron Man, and Cap engage with Thanos, and then someone hits pause and goes, "Do you want to watch an episode of The Simpsons?" And you're like, "No, not right now." You're like, "Well, okay."
Yeah, let's do that right now.
Let's just do that. Yeah, we'll come back to Endgame.
It'll always be there for us. Yeah.
Let's watch.
They're not going anywhere.
I think a better analogy would be like just before they fight Thanos, we cut to the guy driving Thanos' vehicle and how they got to that point before the fight starts.
Well, couldn't you argue? I guess the most step would actually be you start watching Iron Man from start to finish at the moment they're about to battle Thanos, and it's like, let's get some history on this Tony Stark guy. You're like, I mean, okay.
Yeah. Let's see how Tony Stark became the hero known as Iron Man. Like, I hate it.
You to play the next 10 hours from the villain's perspective, leading up to this showdown. Yeah.
I don't even know that you can say it's from the villain's perspective, other than
not trying to make a villain
in a literal sense. Like, because what I feel that he's trying to get across is that you have you watch all of Infinity War. Technically, a lot of the scenes are from Thanos' perspective. And they could have done it so that it's exclusively from the heroes, no scenes with him. And then you release a second movie, and we follow him. So, the opening is him attacking the ship that Thor and Loki are on. And then as soon as he teleports out, we follow him to wherever he ended up, and we follow him throughout the whole thing. That would be that. What we see in The Last of Us 2 is not necessarily her perspective on the same events as Ellie. It's just what she's getting up to in the day that Ellie's getting up to stuff too. Like, it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
There's no recontextualization to be had there because
there's nothing like everything that happens to her has nothing to do with Ellie, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this scene is the only time that they cross. That's it.
So,
that's the only time that they actually. Other than that, the hospital scene. Abby's already kind of like done her stuff, so nothing that you're particularly doing is having any effect on Abby.
And of course, what he's describing makes it sound a lot more clever than it actually is. The second time he's done it, it's like, damn. Okay.
This has been a very contentious decision, hasn't it? It's not for everyone. But in this video, I want to talk about why the Switch worked for me and what I got out of that experience. Part 1. Play, don't show.
Engage your brain.
How can it not be shown?
What is shown?
Also, most of the dramatic shit in this game is shown.
Trying to do an expansion on show don't tell.
Oh, of course.
Play don't show.
But
surely it's play don't tell, right?
I would
play without showing.
Yeah, I would classify playing under showing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with you guys. I think you should have said play don't tell.
Most commonly repeated piece of writing advice is show, don't tell. You can't tell your audience how to feel, you have to show them how to feel, so they actually experience
Well, the shit you like can tell us how to feel.
Also, what is he talking about? They have several characters express how good Abby is to us.
Game tries very hard to tell me how to feel.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree with it.
It's obnoxious.
That's part of why everyone fucking hates it. Like, we get really annoyed with having them tell us how to feel.
It's very overt.
Yeah, this is an M-rated game. Stop treating me like I'm 12.
Not to mention,
I get it, man.
The first game's ending. They do not tell you how to feel about Joel's decision. It's very up in the air.
Yeah.
Those emotions.
Couldn't really blame you for being reviled.
This game has an example of the difference because it does both for the same scene. At the beginning of the game, we are told about the events of a dance that happened the previous night.
Let me see if I got this right. You kissed Dina.
She kissed me.
Which triggered Seth to call you a not-so-nice word.
Yep.
I can't believe that dyke is the word that he wasn't gonna say. Like, I thought it was
nice.
Yeah, it's like, all right.
Especially, like, guys, let's be honest. If you're friends and like you're talking about some insult someone threw at you, you'll just be like, "He called you a dyke? Damn!"
Can't believe he called you a dyke.
You wouldn't
man.
go, "He called you a mean word?" Oh my god!
He called you a, that.
But remember, you're dealing with a 25-year-old deep apocalypse with a writer who wants to write as if it's 2020 sensibility.
Yeah.
And also,
so it doesn't work. The whole fucking dialogue between so many of these people don't work. Because you can't have modern-day dialogue, modern-day sensibility in a 25 deep apocalypse.
And if you're Jesse here, that's Jesse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Making sure my names and faces are matched up. It's kind of more dickish to not just say dyke, because now you're forcing her to go through her memories to pick out the word that was said so that she knows what he's referring to instead of him just saying it.
Joel decked him,
More of a push.
and then you got mad at Joel. That part confused me.
Yeah,
When you
Joel
first
did,
hear-
yeah, Joel did something funny. that
Then you
piece of
got mad
shit.
at Joel. That part confused. It's like the game knows ahead of time that people are going to be confused by this, so he's setting it up well early on. Like, look, I know you're going to be confused by it, but trust us, it makes total sense. And then it doesn't.
Poor Joel.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor Joel.
Yeah.
Just rename the game Poor Joel.
Yeah. Joel got
This-
done dirty.
You take in the information, but you don't feel the emotion of the scene. But then later, in one of the game's many flashbacks, you get to see the scene in full. We don't learn much of anything
And we don't
new
give
by
a
seeing the
them
play.
because it's right at the end of the game.
Yeah, and it was watching this scene that made me, message to Mahler while I was watching the streams, like, dude, fuck
Why
Ellie.
is this? And also, why is this game still going?
Why is this scene
I don't
placed?
give a shit about this. Yeah, this scene at this part of the game. I don't give a fuck.
Because they don't know how brains work because they don't have any.
I want to I'm genuinely curious. What did they want from placing it this late?
Oh, I think what they were trying to do is that they were trying to show that Ellie is still bothered by letting Abby live. So she's remembering the good, quote unquote, good memories or whatever memory she has of Joel. Like the whole flashbacks are Ellie being angry at Joel and coming to grips with trying to forgive him, and Abby is the person that took that away from her. That is the whole purpose of the flashbacks. Well, but they are told in such a bad way.
The last flashback, she says, "Oh, I want to start to try and forgive you."
Yeah, the point the game's trying to make is that's the big tragedy that was taken away, is that those two could have healed their relationship, but Abby stopped it. Which, again, in a boardroom, I'd be like, guys, is that actually what you want to do? Tell the fans that their relationship was broken and they couldn't have healed it before he was brutally murdered? Is that what you want to do?
Hooray!
No, why would that memory be the impetus for forgiveness also?
Hey, if she can forgive Joel, then surely she can forgive Abby.
Doesn't this seem to work against seems to work against the way they play Ellie in this game. I don't know.
Ellie's fucking horrible in this game.
Yeah, she is.
As Soupy Columbo just said, show don't tell, then read 6 billion pages of diary entries. It's like, yep.
Out, the beats are the same, but this time we really feel the emotion. We can't just be told that Ellie is mad at Joel.
That's another thing. It's so late in the game that I don't really care that Seth said dyke.
No, I don't. The stakes are way too high to care about something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'd have to scrape so deep for character development on Dina. At least I could put one guy called her a dyke as a character trait because I'm just desperate for something.
And I like
by this time, Joel's had his head smashed in with a golf club and tortured. Every person, Tommy's had his head shot. He's had his knee shot. Dina's preggers and puking. Jesse's dead. Manny's dead. Mel's dead. Owen's dead. Danny's dead. Dave. Everyone's dead. Dave. And you're meant to get fucking worried because some guy goes, "Hey Ellie, you're a dyke." Oh, fuck off! No one gives a fuck.
Nope.
Sticks and stones.
I like that he's implying that first we understand the events and then we understand the emotion. And it's like, no. When you explain to me in simple terms, she was called a mean word, Joel stood up for her, and her and Joel got into some kind of, tussle, whatever. My brain went to like, are we doing a kind of like, he's protecting her indefinitely, and she's like, I'm not a little girl anymore, that sort of thing. But no, they don't do that. What's happening here is she's just like, go away! And he's like,
it's worse.
And my god, you see his face, and you see him like curl away.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, this makes it so much worse. Oh, it could have been okay. Nope.
You're all right, kiddo.
What is wrong with you?
He had no right.
And you do?
This is also
this was the part on the stream I yelled out audibly. If there was someone else here, they would have gone, what the? I just randomly going, "What the hell, Ellie?" It's like, why is Naughty Dog trying to make her the most insufferable cunt they possibly could? Because Abby needed competition.
He's a fucking leftist twat bucket.
As we broke up.
This is how you write great intersectional characters. They're just twats.
Oh, so bad. Why?
Why you can't read the...
Shit, man. Like, if someone did that for me, I would be like, I'd be like, I appreciate it. You don't need to do that for me. It's really okay. Like, I appreciate that you are willing to do that for me in front of everybody. It shows that you care. He saved
her life, remember? He saved her life. And she didn't want that.
Well, yeah, that's what the subtext is. But she's being a fucking cunt. There's just no way around it. Like, if you break apart the literal meaning, you got he had no right, and what he's referring to is he has no right to, like, besmirch your sexuality. That's some fucked up shit. And then she's like, you have no right to defend me. And you're sitting there like, what? That doesn't even make sense.
Mm.
And then, of course, you're like, yeah, but she's referring to him having saved her without her permission. And it's like, what do you mean? They were killing you without your permission. What he did was save you. Like, you can now make the choice thanks to him. You couldn't back then. It's insane that, like, because it's what she wanted, apparently, that means he took the choice away from her. It's like, that is not how that works.
If you replay that scene, Joel was trying to revive Ellie, and the Fireflies just knocked him the fuck out.
Yep.
Joel is supposed to believe these upstanding individuals. Fuck off. Like, he doesn't even explain that shit. You know what, Ellie? My first impression of your Firefly friends, they're not really good. They tried, they knocked me out when I was trying to revive you, and I thought that was the last time I'd ever see you again.
I don't know why you would conclude anything else. If you really pay attention to everything that happens at the end of that first game, it's like, damn, they seem almost like Dr. Frankenstein levels of spooky, these people.
Yeah, like, Fireflies are assholes. That's the impression I got. And these are the good guys? Really?
He saved a zebra, for fuck's sake. Why can't he just love him?
What was Just Right trying to say again?
Oh, right. We'll roll him back. It's just we have so many issues with so many parts of this game, and that they all keep getting brought up at different points.
Here in one of the game's many flashbacks, you get to see the scene in full. We don't learn much of anything new by seeing it play out. The beats are the same, but this time we really feel the emotion. We can't just be told that Ellie is mad at Joel.
No, I don't. I mean, I was angry that they're basically character assassinating somebody. But I don't think that was the emotion that they were going for.
I would agree with him that I felt Joel. It made me way more upset.
Poor Joel.
Because the thing, he's not exclusively out of character in this game, Joel. There are a couple of moments where you're like, that's Joel.
The museum scene was great.
He did a nice thing and he's getting shot on for it. Oh
yeah, by the way, unlike Kylo Ren... he had a pretty badass last line.
I can like people who are on a quest for revenge. Her being on a quest for revenge I'm totally fine with that.
He described the quest for revenge as way over the top. I'd be like, please be specific what you mean by that.
The bride, Kill Bill, were we on board with her? Yes, all the way through.
Well, but, god damn it. So, she wants to kill Abby, that is the revenge. In order to get to Abby, she has to get through all these other people who are trying to kill her. She kills them. Oh, now you've gone far over the line. I'd be like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? What are you referring to specifically? Please tell me.
Along the line.
And if it's simply a number of people killed, I'd be like, so when in war, once you've passed a certain line, it's like, no, you need to go home. This is going this is a bit far.
Yeah, there's the quota. Oh, you got 10 kills? Good job.
Your kill streak allows you to stop.
To go home.
The implication is that the revenge story was okay up until enough people died. And I'd be like, so what's the number?
Manny's head.
I mean, but that was a good thing.
It was a very good thing.
We understand her anger, but she's avenging someone who single-handedly did more damage to this world than anyone possible.
Bullshit. Possibly, yeah.
That's a big possibly, too.
Yeah. A faction that knocks him out, chucks him outside, is going to get the power to inoculate who they want, and they're going to become altruistic and distribute it evenly amongst everyone.
Don't forget that they welched on the deal with him, too. He went through everything you could imagine to get her here.
No, and I think Southpaw said this. Do you think they wouldn't leverage the vaccine to gain more power for their faction?
All the issues we're bringing up are all contingent on the idea that they could save the world with this thing, which is not true. That is not true. The world is whether or not you get a cure.
Yeah, they could only inoculate living people at the moment. That is it.
We're all of the.
How many people are dying to spores right
between
now?
the factions? Well, were all of the issues with the faction infighting wars? Did they have anything to do with the infection?
No, it was just getting resources.
So those things are still going to happen.
Yeah, not to mention that you need the only thing this helps with is people walking into spores or surviving bites. That's the only thing this helps with, and those two things are not killing that many people these days. It is, but if you want to look at the kill count tied to faction warfare or to the infected ripping you to shreds, the numbers are much higher.
Yeah, they'd be a lot lower if you sent out people to deal with the infected and gave them stuff like armor.
This is the thing, the game doesn't earn this, and you can lay this at the feet of The Last of Us 1 or 2, but it's 2 that decided to condemn Joel as having destroyed the world, in a sense. It's like, okay, well, that's not true.
Joel man bad.
They didn't think this through, because they want to be childish and say, it's a cure-all, just chop off your head. Like, okay.
Possibly could.
Think about what he did.
I did. It was pretty good.
How many people are dead because of him?
How many people are dead because of you guys?
Those people are dead because they got bit by infected. Let's not play around with it. He's not the reason why they're dead.
Well, unless she's referring to all the people in the building that were shooting at Joel, in which case I feel like they signed their death warrants at that point.
Yeah, I feel like if you shoot somebody, you gotta kind of expect, at least to a degree, maybe they're gonna shoot back, or they won't.
Maybe they'll fight back with a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Literally every death that happens after the first game is Joel's fault.
And Wow. Are you kidding me? What? There's your take, gentlemen, ladies.
Woo. Jeez.
Okay,
How do you reach that conclusion?
They didn't switch the brain on, did they? They didn't switch it on.
How could you say that shit? How could you say that?
That's amazing. Shit? We have completely removed agency from every other fucking character now.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Like,
no, guys.
Is the
Joel
an off switch?
Like, Joel told the zombies to attack.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
What does Just Right think would have happened had Joel let Ellie die? What exactly does he think would have happened?
No, everyone will get along, and the zombies won't bite people.
We're going to have a new...
The WLF still exists. The scars still exist. Like, what the fuck?
Like, I'm happy to leverage, like, the best possible, like, the most idealistic outcome for that of, okay, the cure would be instrumental in rebuilding the world. I could agree to that, even though there's a lot of, landmines along the road there. But why do people feel the need to frame what happened at the end of the game like this?
Because it would make killing Joel justified in their version of the game. I think that's why people are...
Even if it's a long shot, the ambiguity is there.
But what about
is that long shot worth Ellie's life? So on and so forth.
But you've got one person. How much vaccine are you going to be able to create? And then you've got to try and distribute that vaccine world fucking wide.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
The vaccine might only take care of those fucking 10 Firefly people that they can get from Ellie. That's...
Dude, the amount of death. Anytime anyone goes on any adventure, we have to deal with hundreds of fucking clickers trying to rip our faces off. But no, it'll be easy to get this cure to everybody in the world.
Literally every death that happens after the first game is Joel's fault. And every single person in the world has caused
Say it again, because that makes it
Abby
true.
just has extra personal reasons to hate him.
Extra personal reasons.
Why? How come her reasons are extra and personal compared to the others?
Well, because that was her dad.
Was her dad.
He saved zebras.
So it's totally justified.
Abby doesn't have any special reason. She's just the protagonist of the half protagonist of this game. That's it.
I'm assuming he's appealing to the fact that she cared about him on a personal level rather than a general level.
She's an antagonist, not
unlike anyone else.
Well, this is the thing. They all loved that guy, as they obviously portrayed it that way because he's a golden god.
The golden god!
Like, all the people there were like, oh my god, he's such a good guy.
We just wanted to kidnap this person and take him away from the caretaker and basically throw him out in the world without any supplies and operate without her consent to kill her. That's all we wanted to do. Why didn't he just leave well enough alone?
What an asshole. Am I right, guys?
Yeah, Joel's such a dick.
It's fascinating to me that she's, of course, pissed at Joel for killing her dad, and will thus kill him. And if someone said, wow, I'm going to kill you, Abby, for killing Joel, my brother, for example, with Tommy, and then I could just picture her being like, do you know why I killed him? And then it'd be like, do you know why you killed your dad? Do you? Because I don't know. We never find out if Abby actually knows why, as far as I remember. Is there a reference to that?
I don't think so.
It was part of my issue is that she never discusses that with Joel, and I don't think she discusses it in general.
Or with Ellie.
Like, she's a part of this father-daughter relationship that's incredibly important, and she can't possibly empathize with the idea that a dad doesn't want to sacrifice their daughter for the world. Fascinating.
Yeah, like, what if your dad, you know, didn't want you to get killed like that? Like, what would you do?
No, but Abby's okay with it. She says, like, if I was the girl, I'd be okay with you just killing me without my consent. Yeah.
People are saying she knows, but, like...
What the circumstances surrounding it?
Well, that's what I kind of mean, like, exploring.
Oh, she does know, because the Nora in the hospital realizes who she is, of course, before she starts.
Yeah, but
no, wait. People are saying, Mola, she said that she knew that the girl was going to die and that she would do it in her place. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about why Joel killed her dad, specifically.
Oh.
Like, and also discussing...
does she know that Joel was basically her father? Does she know that Joel was cast away, attacked by them, not given any answers, left in the dark? Does she know any of that?
Yeah, and of course, it's not even just does she know it, was it ever addressed and discussed? Or was it simply just, yeah, I knew, whatever?
Okay, and if she knew and did it anyway, you're making it harder on yourself for me to sympathize.
Yeah, it's really hard to sympathize with her. But of course, they threw in a dog, they threw in some stuff, hopefully it'll work.
They threw in everything. The kitchen sink.
There was a dog. Wow, wow.
Also, wait, yeah, of course, there's that moment where she says, I'm the one that Joel killed your father to save, or whatever. Remember, she reveals it to her in the theater, so she couldn't have known.
Yeah, but it was so quick and so...
No, that's what I'm saying, is she didn't... The important thing is that she knew before she killed Joel, is my point. Like, I want her to know why... This is the big thing, we've all talked about it. Why the fuck wasn't she curious? If you meet the person who you know executed your father in a hospital setting, wouldn't you want to be like, why did you do it? Why?
Because it would cause this type of conversation. It would actually cause questions to be asked. And Kirkman didn't want that.
Because we can't have the plot I
revenge,
want.
Revenge begets revenge begets revenge.
Because like, I know that people might be like, well, you don't want to complicate it, right? You just want to kill that person. You want to get revenge. It's like, well, no, actually, I would way prefer to know the why. Especially because there could be a good reason to kill my dad. There could be. Because something could have happened.
Yeah, I know he's not the best of dudes.
He's not, you know, he's not the zebra saver of you know, like, there's people in the world who are perfect. I know that, but, you know.
Like, if I got a knock on my door and the police said, hey, there's like a shooting at your parents' house. Turns out your dad was like a serial killer and he kept kids and like orphans locked up in the basement and he'd eat them and stuff like that. And I'm like, holy shit. It's like, yeah, we had to kill him because he got into a gunfight with us. I'd be like, oh, well, shit. Like, I'm not upset at you. I just have a lot to consider about our relationship. Like, I'm not mad at you.
Okay, what do I mean by every trick in the book? Well, the first trick is itself the name of a book, Save the Cat, which is a book I have a lot of reservations about because it advocates for writing formulas, but is also famous for the Save the Cat idea, which is an early scene in a movie where the main character does something unambiguously good, or at least impressive, to get the audience on their side. So in Abby's first flashback,
can we talk about the game?
Saves a zebra.
Pause.
That
is the key point. The first thing the player should have seen was Abby being a good person. And this is like hours in the fucking game.
Yeah, that's why if it was done in reverse, it wouldn't seem contrived and it wouldn't seem artificial and we could get behind it. We wouldn't feel like we were being tricked.
Exactly.
this is just, and I don't care about the stupid fucking cat book.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm like, this is just right. This is his
I was
video.
about to say, like, in
does.
fairness, this is like his whole. He can't make a video without referencing a book.
According
He
to
has
this book, according to the lyrics of this song, according to the 18th century philosopher Figeld Forgeldork, it actually uses transcendental congenitalness herpes to create. Yeah, no one cares. Tell me about the thing. Let's look at the thing we're talking about. Do it.
See, she's not so bad. The save the cat type of scene can sometimes be a little cheap, but it is
extremely
the
cheap.
designers also
it's cheaper than cheap. It's doubly, triple, mega cheap.
I like he says it can be
it's
cheap.
exceptionally cheap when you've seen us smash a guy's fucking head in with a golf club and show no remorse for it whatsoever.
I'm thinking about it, and I think I'd probably call it cheap in the reverse order too, but I'm not certain because I can't say that for sure.
Well, it's like, so the obvious question we have to deal with, guys, are you saying that no one can ever save an animal?
No.
And to throw on something in chat, I'm not anti-book. It's that I'm anti you, like in a video, like this is just stuff you throw in this stuff to be, look how smart I am that I know about this book. You don't use the knowledge from the book that you've gained. What you do is in your video, you don't just use the knowledge from the book you've gained. You make sure that everybody else knows that you read a book in order to get the knowledge that you're going to use to present, right? It's like the intellectual version of virtue signaling.
Well, yeah,
you're not just doing the thing.
Think of all the things we've learned from each other, right? And then if I quoted any of you every single time I used an analogy or thought process that any of you have enlightened me to every single time, people wouldn't do that because who cares? However, if you're dealing with a quote from the great Ergel Munchausen from, 1970s Germany, you'd be like, whoa, what does he look like? A big beard? He sits in a chair, he's got a glass of wine? Like, nice.
You're saying Ergel Munchausen right now?
Well, what I just said was all a quote from him.
Oh.
And that makes me look smart.
He's my favorite.
He's my favorite too.
And yeah, I've heard of this book was referenced in, I want to say, the Closer Looks video. Apparently, it's one of the first books people tend to read in relation to screenwriting and stuff, or writing in general. Which is not a hit at it. It's just that, god damn it, just use your video to teach, instead of being like, this is where I got it from. But let's just keep going, I guess. Let's see where he goes with it. Save the cat. All right.
To get the audience on their side. So in Abby's first flashback, she saves a zebra. See, she's not so bad. The save the cat type of scene can sometimes be a little cheap, but it is effective.
Like, I just want to remind everybody that they live in Washington State, United States of America, and they've come across a fucking zebra in the woods to save from a trap.
Mm-hmm.
Just to remind everybody what we're talking about here, right? And this is what, and also in this video, nothing was gained by him talking about the book. That time could have been better exploring the concept, right? Which would have been useful because you're trying to defend a game that's really shitty. The most contrived bullshit, ludo-narrative dissonant game I have ever seen in my life. This is going to be like one of those primo examples of how not to do video game stories, how not to develop characters, and how not to set a sequence of events, or how to do so in an attempt to emotionally manipulate the viewer. Yeah. People are not going to let this one go. This one's going to stick around, and not in the good way. The exact opposite reason the first Last of Us will.
I just want to ask a little question about this last little sentence of his. How can, with a scene like this, specifically of this kind of type, just because of what it's trying to do, I don't think it can be cheap and effective.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was about to as well, right? So why do you call something cheap? You're like, well, usually because it achieves what something else achieves, but it does it in a way that you didn't have to work in any way hard to do.
Yeah, extremely low effort.
And so the effectiveness of it doesn't actually change how cheap or rich it was. That's not so he says it's cheap, but it's effective. It's like, well, yeah, we're calling it cheap because they're trying to achieve something that it takes a lot more work to normally do, but they're trying to shortcut to it. It's not excusable. It's fucking embarrassing.
Yeah, especially with especially with things like this, with such a hard sell you've made with Abby, you can't be taking like the cheap way out.
No.
Seriously.
It's surprising, isn't it? Why the f would...
The designers also give her a relatable and empathetic motivation. She loses everything because of Joel. Not just her father, but the idea of a better world, the idealism of the Fireflies as an organization.
Because the Fireflies
Their idealism of the Fireflies is gone? What does that mean?
No, why did the Fireflies were okay, if my parents died, I wouldn't lose everything in my world. I'm not saying it wouldn't be a big hit, but and I feel like the Fireflies aspect, what does she know about all that the Fireflies did? Because they have to try and retcon a bunch of stuff about the first game to try and make you feel sympathetic for the Fireflies and make them look like they're good and they're great and wonderful. So I guess that creates confusion as to what she knew. And then we as the viewers, we have to process this sort of quote unquote new canon about who they are. Because it's being reframed in a way that's just contradictory to what we used to know.
Hello, you just listened to a segment of the podcast Every Frame a Pause, or EFAP. Hosted by YouTubers Mauler, Rags, and Fringy, and joined by a cycling variety of guests across the internet, they critically analyze media with exhaustive detail while pausing at every single frame. Subscribe to the EFAP channel and catch new episodes on Saturdays, as well as catch their smaller videos reacting to the latest and not-so-greatest movies and TV shows throughout the week. You can also subscribe here to EFAP Highlights for the latest shorts, clips, and supercuts, also uploaded throughout the week. Links to all the relevant channels can be found in the description section below, as well as links to their communities on Reddit and Discord. Thanks for watching.